Hey guys, welcome back to Sleep Drunk, episode 36, or 35B if you will. Like I said last time, in this part we'll pick back up with Alavi's comments for Discussion Avenue and his reflection on last semester. Lastly, my apologies for yet another delay. I figured my internet speeds and scheduling would be a lot better than they ended up being on my vacation. Nevertheless, let's get back to the show.
So anyways, my week, my time. So I think in my case, like, the past, when was the last time we recorded? It's been like 2.5 weeks? Something like that?
Yeah, something roughly like that.
Yeah, because I think we recorded before the last week, like during the last week of classes. So it's been weird because the last week of classes seems so far away. And I think that's a testament to how free I feel. I feel like the chains on my soul, like some angel called the registrar of our university who dictated that classes end, has come with bolt cutters and freed chains from my soul and allowed me to rise like a phoenix from the ashes of despair and stress. I am now free and floating like a dainty, gentle butterfly on a sweet spring breeze.
Yep. Free from your last Tuesdays.
Honestly, Tuesdays were like my favorite days of the week. They weren't even that bad.
That's kind of saying something.
Thursdays were the bad ones. But so I'll talk about this more like during my half of the semester debrief. But it's been a very stressful semester for me. And I think that just generally I haven't been doing a ton the past like couple weeks. Like, I've had exams. I had 2 in-person exams. I had statistics and computer science, and then I had 2 papers. So, I mean, those were happening. But I've just been relaxing. I think so. I had my exams. Other than that, I've been doing a fair bit of like more so I try not to spend a lot of money, except I eat out a lot, but that's my weakness. But I try not to spend a lot of money. But since I had just been paid, and I got some very nice gifts from people of monetary amounts. My bank account's been feeling ways. So
feeling some kind of way.
Since recording last episode, which was right before Thanksgiving, I've purchased a saxophone case, a mouthpiece, some clothes, AirPods, some gifts for family back home for my little cousins. I got them their first Nerf guns, which I'm going to give to them. I'm very excited to give to them. Other stuff too that isn't coming to mind, but
none of these are particularly cheap items.
Nope. They are not, and I realize that. Oof. But I bought Skyrim on the Switch. I loaned my brother $60 to get Sword and Shield on his Switch so we can play when we get back, and he's going to pay me back. So, it's been expensive. But I'm not like broke, but I'm just like, because I mean, I have AirPods, I can't be broke. But,
he doesn't speak broke.
Yeah. Like, see, actually, I'll tell my AirPods talk. That's interesting. So, after I got paid, like, normally I would, before I got AirPods, I used to use Anker Soundcore Spirits, right? Which are fantastic. I think they're the best value wireless headphones you can get. But I've been wanting to get AirPods for a little while just because, like, I use Apple devices and they work really well in that ecosystem. Like, they pair, like, super smoothly with devices and, like, they have a bunch of special features. So, like, why not? Like, I lost my Anchors. And so I was like, you know what? Now is the time, right? Like, what's the point of spending another like $20?
Now is the time. My YouTube channel.
Don't you bring Michael Crypto into this? Unless he's trying to get me some money. Michael Crypto, if you want to sponsor the show, I know we're not big, but you're washed out. So,
oof.
But so I decided like it's the time I'll get AirPods. So I decided I'm not going to buy them new because they're expensive. So I hit eBay and I'm looking at like the refurbished market, right? I'm looking around thinking, okay, You,
I think everybody knows exactly where this is going.
I was originally planning on getting the Generation 1s, right? I figured I don't need anything super fancy. Like, these aren't I want to listen to nice sounding audio. Like, I want to enjoy the audio. These are just like on the go headphones. Like, I mean, I'm walking to class, I'm using the bathroom, I'm out and about in the store, whatever. Gotta have your like out and about headphones, right? And so I thought I'd just get the Gen 1s. But then I saw a really good deal like on Gen 2s with wireless charging case. So when the second generation AirPods came out, there was an option where you could get it with a regular case and then with a case that has wireless charging. And so I was like, hey, that's $50 from Ukraine. That's fake. So I skipped that one. But I found one that was $100 from Florida. And I thought, you know what? The retail is like $160 and they're refurbished. So I'm like, I can kind of see that. So I bit the bullet and bought them. They arrived. I put them in my ears. They just kind of sounded wrong. Like, they sounded a little bit muffled, but I was like, they were first made, they're like a little bit dirty. And then I tried like pairing the case, and I couldn't access the settings of like the AirPods in iOS. You can like change the mappings on the buttons. You can change like a bunch of different behaviors depending on like in the settings of settings of your device. I couldn't access those settings. So like, maybe I'm gonna try and factory reset them. I couldn't factory reset them. I'm like, maybe they're just weird. Whatever, they work fine. And then one of them started kind of whining and humming really quite loudly, like when I wasn't doing anything. And when I tried to wireless charge, the case got really hot. And one time I picked it up and it was just sort of hissing. And then like I dropped like one of the AirPods from a pretty low distance, like a pretty low height, like the kind of height, like it was shoulder height, but you'd assume that like, especially because Apple, they pride themselves a lot on build quality, right? Unless you're an iPhone 6 Plus, but they pride themselves on that. And like, if you drop it, like you wouldn't expect it to, but like the earpiece popped down. I'm like, that's a little bit sketchy. And so I ended up returning them because like these are probably like, at the very least, they're not like new as I described. So I returned them. And I look around and I see one that says, oh, this one's also this one's open box, but it is like $130. So I went ahead and bought them. And so when I get them, right, I go to like, I had them shipped to my uncle's house because I wasn't sure if they would arrive before I left for India. So I pick them up, I'm like, I pick up the case and I feel the weight of it in my hand. And I think those ones were definitely fake. The other ones. Like the case is just like, it's heavier. Like the lid is heavier. The magnet is stronger. They work. Like they work, which is nice.
Yeah, that's always a plus. And when you're buying an electronic, you generally want it to work.
And so also like the hinge on the wireless charging cases, it's matte, right? Like it's a matte finish, like it's a metal hinge. And on the other one, it looked like a really like sort of chintzy matte, but this matte looks like the matte on like my laptop, like it's a MacBook. Like it's the same type of matte finish. Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, these are real. Those ones were fake. But so now I have real AirPods. I am no longer broke. Yeah. So that was an interesting saga. Moral of the story: don't buy from. Give me a second. Let me pull up the seller name. And yes, I'm gonna do this. I think it's like Viper Electronics from Florida. Don't buy from them. Yeah. So don't buy from Viper Electronics. I also bought something else too. I forgot I bought another thing. I bought a guitar. That wasn't an impulse buy at all. So, story behind that. I was browsing eBay one late night, right? And I was thinking like, I like guitar, like, so I had been learning for a while on a guitar I borrowed from a friend of mine, which also inspired Alex to buy his own guitar. And I decided that like, maybe not like this semester, but maybe next semester after my next paycheck, I might go ahead and just buy my own guitar. So that way I have one, like it's mine. I don't have to worry about like, I can beat it up if I need to. I'm not worrying about it. But so I'm looking on eBay, and I find a Squier Stratocaster, the Infinity Strat, for $63 for a local pickup, quite like an hour away from me. And I think this is really good. I'm gonna place a penny bid on it, and if I win, I win. And I won. So I took a road trip, and I found out that the guy who sold it, his son, just kind of like got a guitar, but like kind of quit, and so he just wanted to get rid of it. Like it was old. I can tell because I think this is a line from like somewhere in the middle of the 2000s. But I have a guitar now. It's a Squier Stratocaster. I really like it. The action's a bit weird, but I put Elixir strings on it, and it plays wonderfully, and it's great. So yeah, that's been how my time has been.
Yeah, it's honestly that was a pretty good steal.
Yeah, like I looked at the MSRP. It's basically new. Like
we both got some. That thing is in great condition for the price. Like I was surprised at how good it is.
The only thing I had to change were the strings, and that's just because it was old and the strings got like degraded with time. But other than that, it's basically new.
Fairly easy to replace and really cheap.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I did it. And I think MSRP is like 200, so I saved a ton of money. So like I do not regret that at all. And plus, I have a great guitar.
We both got some pretty good deals in our guitars. I think yours arguably is a better deal.
Yeah. I mean, okay, if we're talking like purely as a percentage saved, I think.
But also, like, yours is in better condition.
Yeah. So I got mine for.
Mine's not in bad condition, but it does have that crack just from humidity.
Yeah. I got mine for like a good 67% off. Yeah. So
I don't remember what MSRP was on mine.
I think your MSRP is around 250.
Let me look it up real quick. You're gonna hear some keyboard clacking. Does Martin have a search box?
I know. I remember the model number.
It's an LX1.
Yep, LX1. Martin LX1. MSRP is like 350, 301, 350, 350, 350. Yep.
The LX1 Little Martin on their website, according to them, the list price is $459.
Yeah, and I think
I don't think anyone would really ever.
Yeah, I think everyone's like Guitar
Martin,
Center selling it for $350. Musicians Friend and Amazon are selling it for $350. Velo selling it for $350.
So. Yeah, so $350, and I got it for $100.
Yeah, which is still great. Yeah, so we both got really good guitar deals. So if any of you guys want to buy guitars, we will charge a finder's fee. We can get you a guitar. Because I think we're just lucky. Also, this is going to be a coded message to all of my weebs out there, but if y'all in FGO, I hit the Abby banner with a 10 and 10 ticks, so yeah.
I'm trying to find what the difference between the LX1 and the LX1E is.
Huh. Maybe it's an addition thing?
Mine has an HPL back in size. What does the other one have? HPL.
Maybe it's just like a reissue or something?
Yeah, I really don't know. They both have Sitka Spruce and HPL.
Huh.
They look the exact same too. Actually, the top one mine looks slightly darker, but it's still Sitka Spruce, so I don't know.
Huh. And I mean, also like spruce like wood will naturally vary a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess it'll just be a reissue or maybe like they maybe like an incremental improvement.
Yeah, and all the other ones are very, very similar to the other Little Martins.
Yeah, like different other frets or something.
Pick guards and tops and stuff.
Yeah, but we both got really good guitar deals, and I think that's good. But I think the thing that I'm happy about with mine is that since it's an electric and I got it for such a good price, there's a lot of room to upgrade it. Like I'm already thinking about installing new tuning machines and potentially getting
that's really the nice thing about electric guitars is that you can change the action really easily. You can change the strings extremely easily. You can screw around with the bridge just by turning a screw.
Yeah.
Whereas with acoustic guitars, modifying them is a matter of
you call
permanently changing what they're made of.
Yeah, and like you
it's
call
a process. Yeah.
But so I think on my electric, I'm planning on. I might adjust the action. I'm kind of iffy on that because I've heard if you're not careful, you can irreparably damage your guitar, and I don't want to jinx myself. So I might either take it home at some point because it's playable. But my brother
turn the action screw anything like you're returning your truck screws on your skateboard, I think you're fine.
Yeah. No. First one of those things where if you turn it even slightly too much or slightly with the wrong kind of angle, you can warp the neck. So it's one of the things where I might save that adjustment for later, especially because it's perfectly playable. But I'm planning on potentially installing new pickups, installing new tuning machines, and rewiring the tone knob to do so. In guitar speak, my pickups, I have a 3 pickup system. It's like a Strat system. It's SSH. So single coil humbucker. So I might swap Secure the humbucker out for a better one because the Squier humbucker isn't great. But the thing is, there's room to improve it. And at that price, I don't think it can be beat.
Yeah, really.
I should post it to Reddit and get some karma. I'm gonna do that later.
Oof.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think now's a good time to transition out to my semester debrief. So if the title of the episode is any indication, these have been the craziest 4 months of my life. Like, I have had single short bursts of time that have been crazier, but this semester has been the most consistently insane. I took 16 classes. No, I took 16 credits.
I was gonna say that. No, you didn't, bud.
Yeah, I did not take 16 classes. I took 7 classes. I was working and apartment troubles. So I'm not going to say I regret doing it. I think it was a good experience because I've seen my limit. I think I've found where my limit is. And now I know that I know where it is. Like, I can push it and I can build around it. But so, like, I know my limit, and I think it's made me improve my time management a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. I'm still bad at time management. Sort of by force, though. Yeah, it's a bit by force. So I'm going to start with my class ranking. The class I took this semester, this isn't the ranking, but I took a class on terrorism, which I don't even know how to really classify it. It's like one of those college courses you just kind of have to take. So I took my class on terrorism. I took a history class, which was the history of emotions. I took economics, intermediate microeconomics. I took a data structures Java class. I took statistics, intro statistics. I was in jazz band, and I took a seminar class for being a class assistant. Right, it's like what you have to do. You have to do it first time. So if I was going to rank them, I think I'm gonna put them into 3 categories, like positive, neutral, and negative. I think that's a good way to put them, because I think if I do one after the other, it's gonna be close. And so I think in my positive category,
I know what's coming first.
I'm gonna put my history class. And this isn't in order within the category. In the category, it's in any order. My history class and my economics class. And jazz band. I'll throw jazz band in there.
Absolutely knew it.
Like, I'll throw jazz band in there because I love jazz band.
Yeah, of course.
But I think those were the most consistently enjoyable classes. Jazz band was a little bit stressful just because, like, I was really pushed to my limit musically.
Effort, yeah.
Like, from a skill perspective, like...
And you pretty much, like, learned a new instrument, sort of.
I mean, I played tenor before.
But, like, were you... proficient, I guess?
I played it in my freshman year of jazz band in high school.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I kind of got used to the nuances of it. Because, like, if you can play one saxophone, you can reasonably play the rest of them. Like, it won't be perfect intonation, it won't be, like, great sounding, but you can work with them. But so, I'm used to playing the alto, I was switching to tenor. But so, like, it was very challenging, but I found it super rewarding. Like, I feel like I learned a lot this semester as a musician. My economics class was just wonderful. Like, I think if you're at our school, Awesome Hipster is I'll give you his middle age too. Awesome Gopher Hipster. He's probably been my best professor ever. Like,
also, guys, remember to ditch the World Wide Web. Make sure to use Gopher instead of HTTP. Because
we're not going down. We can't go down that rabbit hole right now. that we can't go down that Gopher hole.
Sure, we can.
This episode's going to be 2 hours
what it's called.
long.
I hate it.
Wait, you know what? Okay, next episode we'll talk Gopher. That's a promise. Next episode we'll talk Gopher.
We'll put a little bit of discussion out of it. I don't think that's all segment worthy.
I can make a whole segment out of it.
Oh yes, you can. But should we?
Well, that's for show prep time. But so he I think his effective has been the best professor I've ever had, and I think it was kind of like a perfect storm where he cares a lot about his students. It was a very small class. It was 9 people.
That probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it was a very small class.
Not anything to his detriment, but
no, of course. But I mean that definitely helped a lot. So it was a really small class. The professor, super nice guy, super open-minded person. Like, so he economically is very libertarian. Like, that is his philosophy. And so in economics, right, there's like different philosophies that people that economists will fall into, and none of them are necessarily wrong. They just handle things differently. Like, the major ones are like the Keynesians and the new classical monetarists. And then he was part of this thing called the Austrian school of thought, which is like builds off of the new classical, new monetarist. So that is that's kind of his philosophy, but he's still open to discussing with people that have the other philosophies and people that think the other way. And he's willing to have that discussion, willing to let you make your point, which I thought was great. He also even came to our so we'd have study groups. And also, quick tip, study groups are really good if you can get a good one. I think one of the best things he did was at the start of the semester, he said, hey, if you go to a study group for 2 weeks in a row, you will get extra credit. And so a bunch of us did it, and we've been meeting every week since. And it's super helpful because I think it let us come into the classes with enough foundation to actually engage with the material. So as a side note, I recommend study groups. But like, even if you're not a person that group studies, I think everyone can still gain out of it. Even if you just sit there and listen, you can gain from it. But so there was that, and they actually, like, for the study group before our second midterm, he actually took the time out of his, like, he came to, like, campus on a Saturday to sit in our study group and answer questions. And that's just the kind of guy he is, and that's why, like, I respect him so much. And
that
I think
says a lot about a professor.
like, I think that he's that great a professor. In fact, he's coming to our study group tomorrow to, like, help us out again before our final, and he's bringing his dog. So I think this is gonna sound really corny, but on our last day, right, our, like, final day of actual class, he, like, the way it's set up is that, so our university does course evaluations, and so, like, with the course evaluation, it's just, like, the idea is that the professors aren't supposed to see it. But so what he did was that the way course evaluations work is that there'll be one student who will, like, read out a little script and then collect all of the, like, just collect all the forms, like, you just get a form and then drop them off. So I was the student for that, right? I volunteered to be the proctor. And so what he said was that he was waiting outside, and that after people submitted their course evaluations, he would give them their midterm, right? Just, like, so they could review it. And so for everyone, he gave them little words of encouragement and, like, talked to them and, like, would just, like, tell them, like, you know, what he enjoyed about working with them in the semester. And for me, he said, like, oh, you're smart, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, he said, and I know you'll make a great economist. And I almost cried. Like, I actually almost cried. I called my dad and told him and, like, almost cried over the phone. That legitimately meant a lot to me. If you're listening to this, professor, I know this sounds really corny, but thank you. Like, that meant a lot to me. And so I think it's been a great class, and, like, I respect him a lot. I want to take more classes with him. And so that was just awesome. Then I think my history class was also super good. I found out on our last day that our professor was a legend. And if I explain to you his legendariness, you'll be able to figure out who he is. So for the sake of Paul Sturgeon, I'm just gonna say I salute him. He's super cool. He grades really fast, and the class is very, very engaging. Like, the class was just, like, the way the class was formatted, it wasn't like a lecture. We'd all sit in a circle, and he'd be like, all right, let's talk about the history of happiness, or the history of grief, or the history of consumerism. And we just talk about it. He'd be like, hey, so, like, this happened. What do you guys think about that? Or what do you think caused this thing? And I think that was a really great way to run the class. Like, I learned quite a bit, and it was really fun. And we got to have debates. And because the interesting thing about the history of emotions is that it's a new field. And so there's still a lot of debate in it. It's not like, oh, you know, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And no one's saying, like, no, it was 1493 or 1587.
But was he happy when he sailed the ocean blue?
I mean, the history of happiness is actually interesting. And the weird thing is, I thought it would be a super mushy class, but it's actually very objective. Like, everything was based in, like, data and historical practices. It's like we'd look at the history of love from the lenses of how were people communicating at the time? What was the function of love from an economic perspective? Like, how were people...
That's the best possible way to make the class.
Yeah, like it wasn't just kind of like...
I think that is an example of a good professor that made a class good, even though the course material wasn't the best.
But even then, I found the course material really interesting. Like, fun fact, in the like early 1800s, it was just cool for, like, bros to spoon. Like, you're out on the road, like, you're traveling, you're going to California, you and your bros, like, get a hotel room and spoon, and that's fine. And that was okay. And then at some point that changed, and we're thinking about, okay, why did that change? What could some of the causes have been? Let's look at the historical context around it. And it was super cool. And he grades really nicely and grades really quickly, and I like that. And he gave me an A.
I mean, you still gotta spoon your homies, you know, just no homo.
Yeah, no homo. It might have been homo, but it was okay. For some people, it's okay. Like, people, like, they spoon. Like, and it was cool. So I think that was also super awesome, and I'm really happy to have been in that class. Like, the thing is, I originally wanted to take the history of music in America, but in a way, I'm happy I took history of emotions, because it forced me to leave, like, my realm of comfort.
Your comfort zone.
Yeah. It forced me to leave my comfort zone, and I think I gained a lot because of it. Like, I also have a new perspective on emotions now. Like, I'm convinced by the fact that humans will never be happier than they are now. and at a given time. It's very bleak, but that is a like established view that human beings are just never going to be any happier than they were at any other time in history. Which is kind of bleak, but it's in large part because, like, from a historical perspective, we should all be over the moon because we no longer have to worry about mass famine, the Black Plague, and nuclear war as much.
Yes, yeah, because it's a relative thing, you know?
And, like, people take things for granted.
There's all sorts of old adages about that, but it's all about what you've experienced in the past. So, like, if you've gone through a really bad part of your life and then you get out of it, then you're really happy because relative to what you've been dealing with, it's great.
It's like most people nowadays don't worry about, like, cholera. But for a lot of people...
you just don't know what you're not having to deal with, so you just can't really truly appreciate it.
Because of that, human beings are never going to be happy.
In fact, Kurzgesagt did a very good video on this. It's something about the title's a bit not misleading, but not what you would expect. It's like, I think it's like a cure for dissatisfaction or something. That might be what it's called.
Well, we'll
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like, I think that was interesting. And just, like, super cool class. I was really happy taking that. And then jazz band, talked about that. That was great. So in the neutral category, I'm going to put statistics and computer science. Yeah, statistics and computer science. So I think for my computer science class, the professor was really great, but the content was just tough. Like, it was a lot of content and it was tough. And the professor was great, and I think the content was interesting. Like, I do think that having taken that class, I actually know more about computers now. Like, I just don't know that, like, while true, print hello world. Like, I know more about, like, I know more about how computers actually work now, I think, than compared to what, like, the rest of the classes I've taken.
Yeah, but it's more of a theoretical, not theoretical, but more of a
conceptual, I think.
Conceptual computer science class.
Yeah. And I think it was useful, and I think I'm happy I took it. But it was hard. It was really hard. Like, some of the projects I lost my mind over, and it also convinced me that I really don't want to work in CS if I can do that. I don't. I'm happy I have the skills, but I couldn't do that full time. It's really hard.
As much as I thought I didn't want to work in CS for kind of those very reasons, programming for the last 2 weeks has shown me that it's not that bad.
Yeah, but also it's like, I just find that, like, I just don't enjoy programming as much. Like, I like working in the realm of, like,
I just find it to be, as long as it's something that you know exactly what you're doing, what you want, and you can do what you want. It's just really a mind-numbing task. It's like driving.
Yeah. It's like, I get
totally get what you're saying. And that's exactly why I don't want to do CS myself. I don't want to sit down every day and just look at a computer screen and write code, which I know people will be like, that's not all you do, but I just don't want to.
Like, that is what the day-to-day hands-on stuff is.
Yeah.
Like, there's project design, there's implementation, and there's stuff like that, but, like, I'd
rather be doing that than dealing with the other crap, to be honest.
So it's like, I think I am fine with visiting the realm of computer science. I'm fine with driving by there on my way to work. Like,
and it gives you more, if you're doing something crazy with R or whatever you're doing in economics, I don't know, you'll be able to make your scripts more efficient.
Yeah. So it's like, I think I'm glad I've learned it. And while I am still minoring in CS, like, I think I'm convinced that I wouldn't want to do it full time. I can visit that world, I can spend time in that world, but I don't want to live in that world.
And it'll at least be helpful to you.
And I think, it's definitely, I think people should take coding class. I think it's a very useful skill. Even just thinking like a programmer, I think, is a useful skill sometimes.
Right. It gives you a better insight into computers, how they work, the vulnerabilities that they have, the shortcomings that they have, and it maybe even if you really try and think an application, like you can figure out how to solve a problem with a computer that you might have just had to deal with, or buy something.
I would actually use CS concepts to explain things to my Calculus 2 students a lot. Like, a lot of them are CS majors, so they'd be like, oh yeah, this functions like an if statement. And they'd be like, oh, cool. Or, like, if we're talking about series, like, that's how computers approximate sine. But so, like, I think I think everyone should take some programming classes because it's a useful skill, but I just can't live there, I think. But so I think that's in the neutral category. And then also in that category, statistics. And I think a lot of that is just the fact that the professor was also super nice. She was like this sweet old Southern lady professor. I think I called her Johnson Moore. Let's call Professor J. She was also like super, super sweet. And the class itself was good, but I just didn't gel well with her way of teaching. Like, it was kind of like, sort of scatterbrained almost. Like she'd jump between things and like
I hate that. I really hate that.
like she would skip over very, very long formulas without giving a ton of time to write them down. And also I think I just didn't have as much, like for me, my morning stats class was quite often I'm gonna get some other work done now while she does her thing, and I'll just like reteach myself the stuff later. Because I think if I had more time, I think I would be able to appreciate the class a lot more. It wasn't bad, but I just think that professor was nice, but I didn't gel well with her way of teaching, and I think I could have done more. Like I feel like I'm not gonna retake it, but if I could do this semester over again, I'd probably move stats somewhere else in my schedule. Like into another semester, I think, so I could put more time to it. So I feel like if I put a bit more time, I would have been able to get a lot more out of it. But I'm taking more stats next semester, so we'll see.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be part of my career. I think a lot of economics uses statistics now.
Yeah.
Like, I found it interesting. It's just that I feel like I could have done more with it. So I think that's kind of why
I entirely get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's why it's a neutral. Now into negatives. The realm of the negative classes.
I can't even think of what's left.
Terrorism?
Other than like seminar. Oh, terrorism.
Terrorism.
Yeah, I forgot about terrorism.
And my seminar. With the seminar class, it was just kind of a waste of time, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I didn't get like I didn't get a ton out of it. I did get a couple of really good teaching methods that I think are actually useful.
It's like the LA equivalent of a work safety video.
Yeah. It's one
like,
giant
in
work
case
safety
you
video.
have never heard this from literally anyone, lift with your knees, not your back.
Otherwise you'll like explode.
Yeah, it's like the Title IX and other thing equivalent of that.
There were a couple of things, like for example, I learned how to like ask students questions effectively, which I think was good. Like skills which you wouldn't think you would need. Like it did come in handy. But that was like one lecture. That was one session. A lot of it was kind of useless. Professor was nice, but like he had a weird sort of speech impediment where like he didn't stutter, but he would just kind of trail off a lot. And so like sometimes it's hard to understand him. He was not a bad guy. He's a nice guy, but just I think the class was kind of a waste of time. And I would have been fine if it was just like a training day instead before. Like we already have an orientation day where we do our paperwork. So like just make it part of that. But And let's talk about terrorism. I hated that class so much. If you're listening, Dr. Hach, I respect what you do, but go f yourself. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I really do, but I hated that class so much. And I did well in the class. I have a solid A in that class. I think I have a set A, but I just hated that class so much. I hated it so much. So the idea of the class is that it's meant to look at like perspectives on the war on terror, right? The war on terror, if you live under a rock, this thing the US government's sort of been doing to like, there's these terrorist guys, not a huge fan, invade Afghanistan, it's whatever. So the idea is multiple perspectives on it, look at it, critically analyze it. And it's like, I have to take this class and there's different options for it, but I thought,
while we're at it, don't forget the oil.
Yeah, oil too. Don't forget. I mean, they have WMDs, and that oil is a weapon of mass George W. Bush
of mass
erection.
Oil collection.
Yeah. But so the idea is it's meant to be multiple perspectives, and we have to take a class that's like contemporary society and multiple perspectives, and that this is a section of that. And I thought that this is something that's relevant to me personally as an American Muslim. I might as well take it. Might as well give it a try. And so originally we're going to have another professor for it who just kind of dipped for some reason. So we got this individual, Dr. Hach, who, and I'm just going to say it, she has a PhD and is an adjunct professor. And I think that says something. Like, no offense. If you're listening, like, I genuinely mean no offense, but, like, really, like, generally, if you get a PhD, you at least become a postdoc. Like, not an adjunct professor. Like, an adjunct professor is a professor that, like, doesn't work for the university full-time. Like, they'll, like, pick up a class or two. That's what she did. She just picked up a class. But
what else does she do? Does she do research or anything? Or
I think she
literally
writes.
Just an adjunct professor.
She works she's like a think tank or something. I don't know.
So not a whole lot.
Yeah, like
That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know what she does. Like, I'm not going to prod. I think she does write. Like, she writes like academic journals, but just so it was really just the war on terror from her perspective. And like Michael, my roommate and former and occasional voice on the show, we were in the same class, and he wrote to her one day asking like, hey, are we going to talk about solutions? Like, are we going to talk? I know we're talking a lot about the problems, but like, what are we going to talk about addressing? And she's like, oh, we're just not going to talk about solutions. So it was really just the whole class was her bitching about the war on terror, and a lot of things were really valid points, and like I agreed with them, but there wasn't anything else there. And the thing that annoys me about it is that we got to meet some really, really influential people. I've got to meet some great people. We met an attorney who works for a client at Guantanamo Bay. We met like a really prominent filmmaker who like Skyped in. We met a really prominent author, Mohamedou Slahi, who like wrote Guantanamo Diary. Like, we got to meet some really great people, and I'm really happy to have met them. But I just feel like the class could have been so much more. Like, I feel like instead of just making us like just talk and like parrot these things, it would have been better to talk about, hey, this is what's happening, but what is your take? Like, what do you think about this? Because even when someone tried to express their opinion, if it didn't line up with the groupthink, then it was a no.
Thanks, Reddit.
Like, I just feel like, especially with a class like that, it could have been so much more, but it wasn't. And that's what annoyed me, is that there was so much potential there. And the fact that I got an A by basically fudging the entire class. I put very little effort into that class, and it's weighted the same as my economics class, it's weighted the same as my CS class in terms of credits. So I just feel like it was a wasted opportunity, and I feel like it could have been better, which sucks because, once again, it's a topic that matters a lot to me personally. Like, I've lived through the war on terror as an American Muslim. I had to deal with a lot of the problems that have come with it, like, in my day-to-day life. And I wanted to look at it from a critical perspective, but I couldn't.
Yeah, and
it sucked.
And that's what she's turned it into, which I can imagine that's just kind of annoying.
It just turned into her talking about America's bad.
That's not a good way to get people to actually care about it.
Yeah, and plus I think it creates very narrow-minded perspectives. Like, having just the one perspective of everything the U.S. has done on the war on terror is bad. Like, I'm not putting my lot in anywhere, but I just think that there's more to it than that. And like,
there's always more to it than that. Whenever somebody says something's that simple, they're doing something screwy, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, once again, learning about agents provocateur, that was super interesting. Learning about these different things, super interesting. But like, the one thing that really pissed me off, so on like one of the last days of classes, it was right around the time, I think like a week after the raid where the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, was killed. And so the president gave a dog a medal, right? A dog named Conan, who like went in and sniffed out some bombs, right? And she took offense to that because in Islam, in really more conservative circles of Islam, like, to my experience, this is generally a bit more of a conservative thing. I might be wrong, but in my experience, in more conservative circles of Islam, you're not supposed to have dogs. Like, it's like they're considered like unclean, and like you shouldn't be around them. And so she was like, this was the president. Like, is it sort of like a more extreme version of the same thought process behind tattoos and that whole bit? And sort of. It's I think it comes from like a different ideology, because like in Islam there's like animals are kind of categorized in different ways, like they're considered like clean or unclean. Like, for example, everything in the ocean is considered fine. Like, monkeys aren't okay. Like, there's like a categorization. It's a similar thought process, but yeah, basically. And so the idea is like, you're not supposed to really like have dogs, you're not supposed to really mess with them, except for this one specific breed of like Arab pointer dog, which are really nice, and I think they're beautiful. But so like that's the idea. And she was like, oh, she's giving this dog a medal because like it's to rub it in the face of the Muslims. Like, it's not. Like, what other animal are you going to sniff? You're going to send a gerbil to go sniff out bombs in the desert? Knowing the president, that did not go through his head. No, of course not. He probably didn't even think about that. Just like, I want to reward that. And he's a good dog. He looked cute. He was like wagging his tail on stage. It was adorable. Like, come on. He's a good boy. Like, regardless of what you think about the president, he's just a dog. He's just a dog. Right. Like, the president's he's not trying to make a jab. Like, he saved someone's life. Right. Like, come on. Don't. Stop. It's dumb. That's such a stretch. It's just a dog. Like, get over it. Like, I get you might feel a little bit upset about that, but it's just like, that wasn't his thought process. And frankly... Right. Like, he's not personally attacking you. Yeah, especially because... think that... This is a common practice. It's not, like, so sorry. Like, giving dogs medals is... there's precedent to this. There's a lot of precedent. This has been done many, many, many times. Like, this is a common practice. This was done with pigeons in World War II. Like, giving animals medals is not an uncommon thing. It's not like, like the president just was kind of like, hey, I'm going to start this new policy. This is a precedent. He's just a dog. Like, He saved someone's life.
That's worthy.
And also, the other thing is that, like, what other animal will you use? You're gonna send a cat? You're gonna send a gerbil?
An
There's a little
anteater.
hamster in there to try and find it. No, you can't do that. Dogs are good at this for a reason, because we've bred them over hundreds of years to be good at this kind of stuff. Like, that
It's
just
like why we
really
have
pissed me
hunting
off.
dogs.
That just really pissed me off. I was like, I'm done with, like, it was on our last day, so I was just like, I'm done with this class. Like, I'm done with it. Like, I got my A. I've checked a box in my degree evaluation menu. I'm done. And so I would really hated that class. So
Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't take that class.
yeah.
Because I really have zero tolerance for college class bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's off the charts.
Like, I think it would be a good class for someone who knows literally nothing about the War on Terror. Like, literally nothing. Like, if you just want to, like, learn what happened, great. But frankly, I knew about black sites. I knew about Guantanamo. I knew about the things that happened.
Not necessarily even. It could still be better for somebody who didn't know anything, because you're only getting that one perspective.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And you're kind
But,
of like,
if they knew nothing and, like, wanted to learn what happened in a structured way, because for what it's worth, we did talk about things roughly in terms of different themes. Like, this is all the stuff regarding Guantanamo. This is what happened there.
fair enough.
Like,
but
at the very least, that happened. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're going to do it, that would be a way to do it. Like, I could understand why you might want to do it that way. But for me, as someone who's been through this, who's, like, community has been affected by this, who's been this has been a recurring part of my life, I gained basically nothing from it. I learned that, like, the name of the one site was, like, called Cobalt, but that's it. I didn't really learn much. And that sucks. I think it was a waste of opportunity. Like, I think if you're taking a class, you should be able to, like, you're not going to love every class, but you should be able to get something out of it.
yeah, that's fair.
And yeah.
I can say that about all of my classes this semester, even the class that I was talking about how I didn't do any of the readings for. I mean, at least I can understand how the process of science has become the way it is and how we can improve it and stuff.
So I think when I rank my professors, it's sort of in the order, but what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take all the professors from the neutral category and move them up to the good category, because they're all good professors. Like, I like them. And also I'll take my professor from my seminar class, who's also super nice. I'll move him up as well to, like, I liked him. Because rough rank, it really varies from week to week. I guess the top two be history and economics. Then after that, the jazz band director was super nice. I will say, I think Professor J for stats was really nice, but Professor Russet for computer science she was funny. She was really funny. She made jokes. I enjoyed that. She was fun. It was a fun lecture to be in.
That's a good way to make a computer science class more engaging.
Yeah, she was just like, she would make jokes. She would like she like on Halloween, she came in super decked out, which was kind of funny. Like, I can just, like, tell her personality, and, like, she's super nice. And then also my professor for seminar was nice. I just didn't like the class. And then Professor is at the bottom. Once again, you know what? She's famous in what she does. She's good in her little bubble, and that's fine. You got your PhD. You've more accomplished than I am. It's whatever. But I'm happy I'm done with that. Like, with my other classes, I wouldn't have minded another week. I wouldn't have. I would have been fine with another week. I would have enjoyed another week. I wouldn't enjoy another week of that class. I already took, I think, 4 less classes. I participated in, like, we had 4 cancellations that semester, and it still felt like too much. So just, ugh.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was bad.
4 cancellations is a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
for 3-hour lectures that are once a week.
Yeah. So we missed, like, almost like a quarter of the class. That's whatever. It's whatever. I'm done. I'm done. I'm in my happy place. That's behind me. It's all behind me. And we're done. We're good. So I think my extracurriculars, the only real extracurriculars I put jazz band in with classes was work. Also, I think I love my job. I really like my job. It's good. For those who don't know, I'm a learning assistant for a Calculus 2 section. In Calculus 2, I think the class is kind of like the real filter for college mathematics.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, I think higher math is, like, more difficult, but Calculus 2 makes you develop a work ethic.
It makes you develop a work ethic. It teaches you how to think. And it's like, it's not even really that it's the necessary concepts to go into higher math, but once you can get past Calc 2, you can do any math.
Yeah. Like, if you can survive that gauntlet, you're good. And so I was really happy teaching it. Like, I think so. The way it was set up is that I worked 2 recitations. Recitations are kind of like like a little thing you do after a lecture. It's like a small like lab type thing. You know, you go.
Yeah, it's just like a review where you go
review.
over everything. You can ask questions of things that you're not quite clear on.
So I worked a recitation, and then I worked a I held office hours, and I didn't get a ton of people coming to office hours, which like I get it. People like come,
expected.
But when people did come, I really appreciated it, and I think they worked really well. Like they would come, they would work hard. I held review sessions, and I found out that lecturing is a skill, and it's a skill I have not developed. My throat suffered afterwards, but that was really good. Like I think I've become more confident, and I think it's like made me better at explaining things, and it's also helped me realize the things that work in explaining to other people, which I think I can now apply to like when I'm learning something, right? Like for example, I found that using like little stories really helps to like hammer things in. Like for example, I think instead of just saying like so there's this idea of like of this thing called the comparison test in infinite series in calculus 2, and basically the idea is that if one thing is bigger than the other and the smaller one goes off to infinity, the thing that's bigger has to go off to infinity as well, because it's always bigger than the small thing. So for example, the example I use, like let's say there's 2 airplanes flying like one above the other, right? Like exactly above each other. If the bottom one decides to fly up, the one above it has to fly up as well. And then vice versa. So using little things like that, I found helped like cement ideas in, and like using examples and things like that. So I think I've gained a lot as a student from helping teach. And I've also gained a lot of insight into how classes work, which I think is nice. I think a lot of people in calculus, like especially with math, will say, oh, you know, when will I ever use this, right? And while I think that's a valid point, I realize that a lot of things you do are just set up for later stuff that you actually will use. And it's like, for example, like logarithm rules. Most people don't really use logarithm rules day to day, but they're the foundation for a lot of stuff in calculus, which people might use day to day. It's just one of those
little things that like when you do need it, it's like, oh yeah, I know that.
But also it's the setup for a lot of other things. Like for example, the fact that like E as a thing, as an entity works, and the implications of that. Just from like a curiosity perspective, I think is super
what it comes from, that limit.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is all high level big brain math stuff, so we're not going to bore. I'm not going to bore you anymore, the audience. But I just feel like I've gained a lot from that, and I've reapplied. But the math department's being kind of slow because I think the professor in charge of it is like swamped. Because so what I did was that he sent out a Google form to everyone asking like, okay, what time are you going to be available? Like what sections can you work, etc. Right? So he sent one for Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. I applied for like both, right? Because I think they're kind of lumped together, the Calc 1 and Calc 2. So he sent an email out, and the first one is straightforward. I filled out the times, checked the boxes, put my email in, submitted. Second one he sent for Calc 2. It was missing the email collection section, right? So first off, maybe some trouble recording responses. Had the array of questions, and at the bottom was untitled question with option 1. I selected option 1. So best of luck. I'll call him Dr. Sandman. Best of luck. I know you're tired. Let me know soon. I like my job.
He runs that?
Yeah, him, and then another math department, another person, Dr. No, wait, that's actually her name. Dr. Mandela. I'll call her that. No, that's too easy. Cut that. Dr. Neutron. There, Dr. Neutron. So
I don't know of any female
Dr. Nelson
professors.
So so they run and they're working things out. So I haven't heard back yet. I hope I get rehired. I really enjoyed the job. But also part of that was that we had to do a project, right? As far as first year LAs. So what this project was, that it has to be some sort of active learning activity with the students. The idea is that, you know, you help them learn something, you do it in a kind of different, fun way, and then you send it, right? So our project was that we were working on sequences and series, because I think that's the toughest section in Calc 2, which is just dealing with sets of infinite numbers. And there's these things called convergent tests, which will tell you, like, does the sum head towards some finite amount, right? So the idea was that we'd use this kind of interactive quiz where they would figure out, okay, you know, what kind of test would I use for this series that I've been given? And then after they answer the question, they would get the correct answer with the explanation. And the idea was that, you know, they would kind of learn as they went through it. And I had a partner for this. The partner was the other LA I work with. I will call her Riley. Riley Reed.
Oh my god.
No, that's not right. That's messed up. But just Riley. So Riley was, I know she's not listening, but out of principle, you know what? Like, I get it. She was busy. But she also came into work late frequently and always left early. Held her office hours on Sunday. And didn't do anything for the project. I did all of it. She checked in once, like, hey, have you gotten the questions? But I wrote the questions. I made the form. So I wrote the questions, made the form. I rendered out the graphs in Wolfram Alpha. I debugged the form when it broke. I sent it out to everyone. I collected the responses. I rendered out the graphs for our posters. We had to do poster afterwards. I rendered out the graphs. I ran all the statistics on the data. I combed through the data to make sure that there weren't any weird abnormalities. I got rid of an abnormality. I wrote up the results, wrote up the conclusion. I asked her to write up the methodology. She wrote it wrong. I fixed it. I wrote the introduction. I did the layout for the poster. I resized everything. I went to get the poster printed. At the session where we showed the poster, guess who stood next to the poster and had a picture taken with it?
Oh my god.
Once again, no shade. I think she also worked as like a CS, like TA.
Java, stop it.
So like, you know what? Why?
That's definitely
so
deserving of at least a little shade. Like, she could have at least like
I didn't even get, so her one thing with the questions was that like she didn't have a copy of the textbook, and so she couldn't get the questions. But I got a bunch of my questions from Paul's math notes.
She just like sent her a link to the note to myself. Cut this out because she just like sent her a link to my website where I have the textbook literally hosted there.
I was just gonna say, hey, check Paul's online math notes. Maybe there'll be something interesting there. But no, nothing. I made it all by myself. I wrote out like paragraph solutions for each of them.
My God, I'd be pissed, honestly.
So, I did all, like, it's behind me. I'm not gonna be petty about it. I get she had her own things. It is what it is.
I need to stop fidgeting.
Yeah, I'm fidgeting a lot too. So it is what it is, and it's behind me.
This is a really long recording session. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're like breaking up into episodes, so it'll kind of work.
I know, but still.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna both be like almost full-size episodes.
Yeah, which is good. And my throat hurts too, so we should probably wrap it up. So I think I'm gonna keep with my goals going forward next semester. I want to focus on my mental health a bit more, because I think with all the stress, I became really anxious all the time, even for no reason. Like, there was one point where I was like walking to work, and I just like almost started crying for no reason, and I was like, why do I feel so bad? Because I'm really stressed. And so I want to focus more on my well-being and my mental health next semester. That's a big goal. I'm taking a much lighter class load. I'm still working, but I enjoy my work. And I'm applying to be part of an undergraduate fellowship. And so like I want to focus on myself, my hobbies. I want to like so we talked about this in a pretty good like episode 8, but anime, something I'm a fan of, runs in seasons. Right, like it's like every like, you know, like there's a winter season and a fall season. I miss the entire fall season of anime. I miss the whole thing, and I don't want to do that because I enjoy this. I enjoy the art form. I enjoy the media. Like, I want to do things that make me happy.
It's called hentai and it's art.
That's not me. That's Samuel Jackson. But just like I want.
No, that was literally Stanley from The Office, but okay.
Oh yeah, well, I don't watch The Office. I'm not basic.
I don't either. I watched it once, not like every 2 days.
But I work at Dunder Mifflin. I like coffee.
I'm literally Pam.
Also, random side note, I'm drinking a lot of coffee. I have my own pour over set up now, which I'll talk about later in another episode because my voice is getting hoarse.
This is getting so long.
It's getting really long. But so I want to focus.
That's what she said.
Back on topic. I want to focus. I want to focus a lot more on myself. I want to focus on my well-being and doing what's best for me as a person.
Probably should do that myself as well.
Yeah, like I want to really get back to myself. I want to get back to being. I want to feel good. I want to not be anxious. And like I've been really anxious this semester.
Bit of a problem for me too.
Like I think it's important. I think it's something people need to do more.
You have to take some time to just do some things that you enjoy doing, and if you can't do that, then you don't look forward to anything, and it's also just like
a
bad day.
Even if you have time, I've been low on energy.
Right. That definitely. It's not only the time, but the headspace.
It's like I haven't been skating. Like, it's like, even if you have a day off, you're just so exhausted.
You just want to take that day, just sit down and relax.
Yeah,
and
you just want to sit around and do nothing because
you're
exhausted from like the week. Or maybe you have like other work to do. It's like I wasn't skating nearly as much as I wanted to be because I really enjoy skating. And so that also had an impact on like my physical health, because that was my main method of getting exercise. So like, I want to take time to do maintenance on me as a flesh robot. I want to clear the viruses, defrag the hard drive, swap out, clean up the parts. I just want to take more time to myself. And so that's my biggest goal for next semester, is just take time for myself, take the most of life, like make the most of my non-academic time. And also I want to work at being even more scheduled if I can to facilitate that. So I'm looking at ways of different planning architectures, like to-do list apps and that whole smorgasbord. So maybe that'd be a later episode, but I just need time. I need time. I need rest. And I think that's a good place to end it. That terrible disappointment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sleep Drunk. Remember that the first person to get Song of the Day on any of our social media or via email will get a shout out in the next episode. Song of the Day for episode 34 was Wonderwall. It was Wonderwall by Oasis, because Alex was a guitar boy. Wonderwall by Oasis. Can you play Wonderwall? You know how? Like,
I can, actually. It's like all I can play, and I want to learn some more complicated songs, but I can. Yeah,
Wonderwall. So that's Song of the Day. Also, don't forget, share the show if you can. We really appreciate it. It will give me validation after my hellish death march through the fall of 2019.
Did you already go through all the platforms?
No, go for it.
All right. Well, the Sleep Drunk podcast can indeed be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. And with that, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.